software companies suggest their tools are game changers. Writing retreats promise transformation for just $2,000 a week. But research from the Authors Guild shows that the median income for published authors is around $5,000 per year. That's not a typo. $5,000. Most professional writers have day jobs. They always have. A 2022 study published in the journal Poetics analyzed the careers of 2,400 published authors and found zero correlation between formal education, spending, and publishing success. None. Writers whose MFAs weren't more likely to get published than writers without them. Here's what the data actually shows. The average novel manuscript is about 80,000 words. If you write just 300 words per day, that's less than one page. You'll finish a novel in 9 months. 300 words takes about 15 to 20 minutes. The tools, word processors are free, Google Docs, LibreOffice, even the Notes app on your phone. Kurt Vonnegut wrote on a typewriter. Today you have better tools free than professional writers had 30 years ago. So if money isn't the barrier, what is then? The real requirement. The answer is cognitive consistency, what psychologists call repeated attention over time. Stanford behavioral scientist V.J. Freud has spent decades studying habit formation. His research shows that motivation is unreliable. Willpower is a finite resource. What actually creates lasting behavior is what he calls tiny habits, small actions that repeated consistently until they become automatic. Here is where it gets interesting for writers. A study from the University of Victoria tracked 50 aspiring novelists over 2 years. The researchers found that writers who completed manuscripts had one thing in common. They showed up regularly, not daily necessarily, but consistently. Some wrote every morning, others wrote every Tuesday and Thursday, others wrote for 1 hour every Sunday. The schedule didn't matter. The consistency did. The writers who finished had what the researchers called protected writing time, periods they defended against other demands. The amount of time ranged from 15 minutes to 2 hours, but it was non-negotiable. Here's the neurological reason why. Your brain creates neural pathways through repetition. When you write at the same time or in the same conditions repeatedly, you're literally building brain infrastructure. The behavior becomes easier. Eventually it becomes automatic. Creativity researcher Teresa Emma Bill at Harvard Business School analyzed the daily work patterns of hundreds of creative professionals. She found that progress, even the tiny progress, is the strongest motivator for creative work. Moving forward, even slightly, creates a psychological momentum that makes you want to continue. This is why consistency builds in intensity. Writing 200 words 6 days a week will get you further than writing 5,000 words once a month. The daily writers build momentum. The monthly writer starts from zero each time. The consistency framework. So how do you build this consistency? The research gives us clear framework. First, start absurdly small. B.J. Fogg's research shows that the biggest mistake people make is starting too big. They commit to writing 2,000 words a day, then fail, then feel discouraged, then quit. Instead, the data says to start with what feels almost embarrassingly easy. Write for 5 minutes. Write 100 words, write one sentence. The goal isn't output, it's showing up. Once showing up becomes automatic, you can scale up. A 2019 study in the European Journal of Social Psychology found it takes anywhere from 18 to 254 days for a behavior to become automatic. The median was 66 days. But here's the key, missing a single day didn't derail the habit formation, as long as people resume the next day. Second, anchor to existing habits. James Clear, who synthesized decades of behavioral research in his work on habits, describes implementation intentions, linking new behaviors to existing ones. Instead of I will write, say, after I pour my morning coffee, I'll open my document and write for 5 minutes. Research from the British Journal of Health Psychology shows that people who use implementation intentions are 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through on behavioral goals. Third, design your environment. A UCLA study on behavioral design found that environmental cues are more powerful than willpower. If your laptop is buried in a closet, you won't write. If it's open on your table with your document ready, you will. One fascinating finding: researchers discovered that reducing friction, making the behavior easy to start, is more effective than increasing motivation. Leave your writing document open, keep a notebook by your bed, put your laptop where you'll see it, and that's it. Fourth, track visibility, not perfection. The research is clear: tracking increases consistency, but what you track matters. Don't track word count or quality, track whether you showed up. Put an X on a calendar, check a box, send yourself a text message that says, "Did my writing." Why? A study from American Psychological Association found that binary tracking, yes or no, is more sustainable than graduated tracking, how much, how well. Binary tracking reduces decision fatigue and removes judgment. The compound effect. Here's where this gets powerful. Mathematician and economist Thomas Schelling won a Nobel Prize for his work on tipping points, the moment when small incremental changes suddenly create massive results. Writing works the same way. Let's do the math. If you write just 250 words a day, which makes it about 15 minutes, you'll write 91,250 words in a year. That's a novel in 1 year, from 15 minutes a day. But the compound effect goes deeper than word count. Cognitive scientist K. Anders Ericsson research on expert performance found that skill development follows a power law. Early practice feels slow. You're building foundational neural pathways, but as those pathways strengthen, improvement accelerates. In practical terms, your first 10,000 words will be hard. Your next 10,000 will be easier. By 100,000 words, you'll have internalized patterns, sentence structure, pacing, and narrative flow. By 500,000 words, you'll have developed what Ericsson calls chunking, the ability to recognize and deploy complex patterns automatically. Professional writers aren't more talented. They've simply accumulated more practice time through consistency. There's also a psychological compound effect. Research from the University of Pennsylvania on grit, sustained passion, and perseverance shows that consistency builds identity. When you write regularly, you start seeing yourself as a writer. This identity shift is self-reinforcing. Writers write, so you write more, which strengthens the identity, which drives more writing. The permission you're waiting for. Let's address the real barrier. For most aspiring writers, the issue isn't actually time or money or tools, it's permission. We're waiting for circumstances to be perfect, for someone to validate us, for conditions to align. But here's what research on creative careers reveals. There is no permission, basically. There is no perfect moment. Psychologist Carol Dweck's work on growth mindset shows that people who believe skills are developed through effort outperform people who believe skills are innate gifts, even when the gift believers have more natural talent. In writing terms, the person who believes "I'm not a real writer yet, but I'm becoming one through practice" will outperform the person who believes either you're born a writer or you're not. The permission comes from a consistency itself. Literary agent Donald Mass analyzed the career trajectories of hundreds of published authors. He found that most successful writers had been writing regularly for 5 to 7 years before their first major publication. Not writing occasionally, not writing when inspired, writing regularly. Those years were the prerequisite. The neural pathway construction, the 500,000 words of practice that made them capable of writing something publishable. And once you've built the consistency, you will need structure for your story. That's why I've created a free hero's journey story structure guide. It breaks down the exact framework used by successful authors to craft compelling narratives. You can download it from the link in the description below. You don't need an MFA to give your permission. You don't need a grant or a room of your own or a sabbatical. You need to decide that 15 minutes a day, 6 days a week, for the next year, you're going to show up and write. That's the only permission required. So here's what you actually need to be a writer. Not money, but a sustainable system for consistent practice. Start small, anchor it to an existing habit, design your environment, track your consistency, trust the compound effect. Everything else, the skills, the completed manuscript, the career, emerges from that foundation. You already have everything you need. The question isn't whether you can afford to write, it's whether you'll show up tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. Because that's what writers do, they write consistently, starting now. And speaking of starting, I've created free Hero's Journey story structure guide that breaks down the exact framework used by countless successful authors. It's a practical tool to help you structure your narrative once you've built its writing consistency. The link is in the description below. If the video helped reframe how you think about writing, hit that like button, subscribe for more content and building sustainable creative practices, and leave a comment. What's the smallest writing habit you're going to start this week? Now close the video, open document, and write. See you in the next video. Cheers!